Hi guys, today we'll be discussing Objective 7.6, which follows the flow of air from the nasopharynx to the mastoid air cells. We can lay out this process in 4 steps. Step 1 is the nasopharynx, which is a posterior extension of the nasal cavities from the concha down to the soft palate. Most air goes into the nasopharynx and down into the trachea, but some goes up through the eustachian tube or the pharyngotympanic tube. The opening for this tube is posterior to the inferior nasal meatus. Second step is the pharyngotympanic tube. It connects the nasopharynx and the tympanic cavity. Its posterolateral third is bony and the remainder is cartilaginous. It's lined by mucous membrane that is continuous posteriorly with the lining of the tympanic membrane and anteriorly with the lining of the nasopharynx. Its function is to equalize pressure between the middle ear and the atmospheric pressure, which allows the tympanic membrane to move freely. This tube is open in children but closed in adults. It can be actively opened by 2 muscles, typically during yawning or swallowing. These muscles are the levator veli palatini and the tensor veli palatini. Third step is the tympanic cavity. Its contents include the auditory ossicles, which are the malleus, incus, and the stapes, the tendons of the stapedius and tensor tympani muscles, the chorda tympani nerve, which is a branch of cranial nerve 7, and the tympanic plexus of nerves. The tympanic cavity has 2 parts, the tympanic cavity proper, which is the space directly internal to the tympanic membrane, and the epitympanic recess, which is the space superior to the tympanic membrane. It's connected anteromedially with the pharyngotympanic tube and posterior superiorly with the mastoid antrum. The tympanic cavity is lined with mucous membrane that is continuous with the lining of the pharyngotympanic tube, the mastoid antrum, and the mastoid air cells. Step 4 is the mastoid or the posterior wall. This wall has an opening superiorly called the adductus. The adductus connects the epitympanic recess to the mastoid antrum. The mastoid antrum is a cavity in the mastoid process of the temporal bone into which the mastoid air cells open. The antrum and the mastoid air cells are lined by mucous membrane that is continuous with the lining of the middle ear. The mastoid air cells function in protecting the delicate structures of the ear and regulating pressure. That's all for Objective 7.6. Thanks for watching.